other people get their bears, I am headed to Ontario to hopefully get my own bear. So after the hunt was over and I got all the work done of getting all the barrels and trail cameras and everything out of the woods, I went home for a few days and actually was able to do a little deer hunting with my grandson Skylar, who has an archery deer tag. He just turned 12 and he's trying to get his first deer, and we saw a few deer from the ground blind on my food plot and just did not get a shot that he was comfortable with. His maximum range is about 20 yards, and we had a buck at about 28 yards, and it didn't stop. I probably could have stopped it, but I just felt like that's outside of his maximum range at this point. But he's going to keep practicing, and we hunted 2 evenings and saw a lot of deer, but just did not get a shot. So when I get home from Ontario, I'm going to keep working with him, and he hopefully continues to practice with his bow and increase the weight on it and everything. So hopefully we'll be able to get him a deer. But back to bears. So I left home this morning at 5 o'clock and drove up to bear camp and got everything loaded, and it's 2 hours up to bear camp, and then from there, I had to get a bunch of hunting equipment and load up the barrels, and I've got 4 buckets of Gold Rush and 2 barrels of trail mix, and I've done all the paperwork and everything to get the export permit so I can get the trail mix. Holy smokes, the lighting's just horrible in here, sorry about that. But I've done all the paperwork and paid the fees with a broker to get all the trail mix across the border. So I got everything I need, and should be able to be in Camp Quetico at about, early afternoon, between 1 and 2. And from that point, I will just head out into the woods, and I'm going to try to get 2 baits out yet this afternoon. I got 2 stands that I left up here in the spring, and then I've also got one hang-on stand with me and a set of sticks in case I need to kind of do a last-minute kind of hang and hunt or whatever. So I am headed up into the Atikokan area of Ontario. I got a permit to hunt a bear that I had since spring and did not get one in the spring. It's still good in the fall. So also threw in some fishing equipment, probably do a little fishing while I'm here if I have time, but my number 1 priority is to try to get an Ontario bear. So thanks a lot for following along on this. This is a continuation of the spring bear vlog. It's now the fall bear vlog. So I'm looking forward to hunting for myself and getting some time in the woods alone, which gets pretty important to me this time of the year after all the pressure of having a lot of people, a camp full of people, and there's a fair amount of stress that comes with trying to make sure everybody gets a chance to shoot a bear, and this one's pretty low stress. So we'll see you when we get in the woods. So I'm in Fort Frances. I just went through the border, and the girl who checked me in looked at my passport and everything at the gate. She had this puzzled look on her face when I told her I'm bringing bear bait in and I have the paperwork. But then she filled out the little orange sheet and told me to pull in over there. So I go in, I take in the paperwork for taking the bait across the border. And the guy behind the window says, "Well, what do you got?" I said, "Bear bait." And he said, "How much bear bait are you bringing in?" I said, "Just 2 barrels." And he said, you got a broker just for that?" And I'm like, every time you go through the border, it's different depending on what people are there and which border crossing you go through. It is absolutely bizarre how crazy it is to try to get bear bait across the border. The interesting thing is that if you've done the research on what you can and can't take across the border and the things that you can do and cannot do in Canada, you probably know more than the people who are standing behind that window. And that has proven to be true over and over and over again in the probably 100 times that I've gone across the border into Canada to go hunting and fishing. It is absolutely nuts how ridiculous it is. It's a circus every time. But anyway, I paid an extra $112 to go through a broker to register the bait and provide all the information so I could go through the border. They stamped it, and I'm on my way to Camp Quetico, and I'm going to try to get some of this bait out this afternoon. But it is quite a saga. All right, I'm at the place where I'm going to leave my trailer for right now. It is a really rough road coming back in here. About 40 kilometers, and I've got another almost 30 kilometers to go, which I'm going to do on a side-by-side. I think my trailer will be okay parked in this little opening in the bush here. But man, the road is really rough coming in here. It's way worse than it was in the spring. The washboards are really bad, slow going, so it just makes sense to do as much of it as possible with the side-by-side. So I got settled into the camp and got my stuff in the cabin. It's a really nice cabin. It'll be a really nice place to spend the week, and I'm looking forward to getting a couple of baits out here before dark and maybe even doing a little fishing on the way back. But the number one priority here is to go get 2 baits out, get the cameras on them, and hopefully we'll get some bears going pretty quick. So here we go. All right, bait number 1 is done and ready, and I gotta tell you, I'm really surprised that there is trails beat down coming in here. They weren't like this in the spring, so it's pretty obvious to me that the bears have been checking back on this all summer. They haven't been rewarded with anything to eat, so I don't know how often they're still checking, but we got a lot of good scent in the air, and the wind direction is blowing towards this swampy area up here, so it's ideal right now. I got a lake down there. I don't know if you can see it. I can maybe hold this up so you can see there's a lake there, and this is kind of a narrow neck down area between 2 lakes and then a swamp up here, and it's just a natural place for the bears to find the bait pretty quickly. So pretty optimistic about this. Geez, I love this stuff. It's so much fun. Well, these are the berries that they're feeding on right now. There's all kinds of piles of scat in the road with these berries in it, and they've actually completely knocked this tree down to get to the berries. Let me go look at the base of it. Now that's fresh. They just bent this tree over so they could get to these berries. This is the location of that complete fiasco that I experienced this spring, and if you haven't watched those vlogs, you really need to go back and watch them. It's a little embarrassing, but yeah, so this is the spot where all that happened. And that right back there is the tree where the stand goes. And I'm going to go check, because there should be a ladder stand laying on the ground. Right there. So, that's good. I'm going to show you these trails. So these trails have continued to be used. You can look at that one right there. There's one right over here. This trail right here. These are the main trails that the bears were using when they approached the bait in the spring. And it looks to me like they just keep checking back here. So this is pretty exciting. Can't wait. I'm gonna go get some bait and get this thing baited up and scented up and let the gold rush work its magic. All right, we'll let this gold rush do its thing, and then it's a half an hour back to the truck, and then about an hour back to the camp. From there it's 4:30, so I'm getting out of here at a good time. Guys, here's more of these berries. I think they're mountain ash, and if you know the answer to that, if I'm correct on that or not, let me know in the comments. If they are mountain ash, then I will tell you that they are, where we're at is got to be the far northwest corner, farthest north, farthest west of where they're actually found, because they're more of an eastern plant. But I haven't known them to be a preferred bear food, but they are everywhere right now in the bear scat, on the road, on the trails. Every bear scat I've seen has some in it. That's what the bears are eating. And if it's not a preferred bear food, then that means they're eating it because there isn't any preferred foods out there, which is good for getting them on the baits, I guess. But if you know the answer to what kind of a plant it is, first of all, if I'm right or wrong, or if you know whether or not it is actually used by bears a lot or preferred, then let me know in the comments below. I'd really like to learn more about this.